Well, thanks very much, Gothgirl and Emo Boys. Myself and Dez here are ready to bring you game 2 of the day. And of course, it is Gigantti going up against That's a Disband. And, well, it's going to be a real test for That's a Disband. They had a middle-of-the-pack team to deal with on their previous matchup, but Gigantti looking like one of the stronger teams in Group A.
It's a real mishmash because last week when we saw That's a Disband play, Track was our big player. And the guys mentioned it on the desk just there a second ago. They were saying this Farah is going to be the big difference on this map. However, what was Nil good on last week? It's all about that soldier play. If we see him bring out that in the Widowmaker, that can be the answer. We saw Farah bring out that really cheeky Widow 2 or 3 taps to bring down the Farah. Maybe we see some creative plays like that, but first and foremost, we're going to be heading, of course, onto Ruins. Now, we had that duel earlier on where Obling didn't really get a chance to shine, and in fact, we saw on the other side, Visility was very, very big on it. I'm curious to see who's going to come out on top in this one, and I imagine, to be honest with you, based on past performance, it's going to be Track.
Yeah, I'd have to throw it over to Track as well. We're looking for a straight Widow matchup, but in terms of overall DPS, I think Nil has an edge if we're going to be looking at their similar hero pools. Remains to be seen what they're going to run into this matchup, though. And Davin looking to start off strong on that Tracer.
The one big thing for me as well, if Cloudy sticks on this Winston, is you're going to be looking at him to try and control Track on the Widow. Now, we spoke a lot about how strong that's going to be for Track, that he's the guy everyone's looking towards. You're also looking at the other side to answer that. Last time round, we saw, for example, it was constantly Shats getting into the backline, dealing with the Zenyatta in the backline. In this case, you're looking for something similar, but real question comes into whether or not they can punish that. If they go for a full dive style setup, Track is going to have a very hard time getting off these shots.
Well, that looks like they're going to go straight for that. There's Nil and Davin on the Tracy Gendry combo. Going to go straight onto Track. So unless he can find those picks and he can deal with that pressure appropriately, it's looking quite bad for That's a Disband. But we're on board with Davin at the moment. He's just going to be on the edge, going to look for a quick little peek, and he's gone straight into the action onto Tri-Spear, instantly deletes the shield, nearly gets the kill, but it's LH Cloudy with the Goomba Stomp to kick things off, and Nil finds Kasaws as well. There's a DMAC forcing them all off the edge. They don't even have to get the kill. The environment will do the work for them, and Gigantti come out strong onto this first offense.
Davin leading as the spearhead there, but the whole team ultimately contributing to get those kills. Cloudy getting one, Masar even with the knock off the back, and let's not forget, we have ignored most of the members of this team. Ripper and Masar, again, regarded as one of the strongest support duos coming into Contenders. We said in the last game there was a lot of disconnect between supports, not really watching each other's back. In this game, it's going to be very, very big to see how these two stand up above Kasaurus and Tri-Spear.
Yeah, they were a very serviceable duo last week. No real moments of, shall we say, excellence coming out from them. Let's see if we can get a change. Immediately, Track being dislodged from that location. We've got LH Cloudy in his face. We'll survive. Kasaurus shutting down Davin and Nil getting a kill onto Tri-Spear, but finally, Limit going to shut down that attack with the help of Mouse as well. So he's sitting on a pulse bomb of his own, not going to need to use it just yet because That's a Disband are going to flip it round, but RCK, he's here for the stall, going to throw out the self-destruct as well. That bubble will keep Limit alive, but actually Mouse makes a silly mistake, gets himself caught out by that explosive. Still won't be enough to change this around unless the reinforcements come in from Gigantti hard, and Davin, he's looking to lead that charge.
Davin with a really good job dropping into the back there and bringing down Track. This gives a really good opportunity for Gigantti to fight this one back without conceding the point. That's a Disband quite clearly won that last fight, but they are being forced away by Gigantti.
Silly mistakes coming out from that side at the moment. Here's Limit with that Primal Rage, going to try and bop everyone around, maybe get the completion of this cap, because it's still going back and forth at the moment. Limit having a Reaper duel? Winston duel with LH Cloudy. He's going to pop a Primal Rage of his own, and he keeps constantly going for Track, shutting him down. Barbie's on the point by himself, does get the kill onto Davin. He's been DMAC. Oh, a snipe as he enters. His corpse will just simply fall onto the point. It doesn't count, but it doesn't matter because they're still in control, uncontested so far.
We spoke about these flying gorillas yesterday, and being caught through the air like that, it is basically free ult charge for anyone firing anything in their general direction. Drac is doing a pretty good job. LH Cloudy definitely showing us that he's got that aggression and he's willing to go into the back line. But Drac so far getting a lot of support from his supports, as you'd expect. And as of yet, has yet to really go down except for that sticky bomb from Davin.
Yeah, he's having a lot of pressure applied to him. He's dealing with it quite well. The sound barrier is going to come out as Cloudy finds Tri-Spear. Davin takes out the second support and Track shuts down Nil after popping the blade. That is huge for That's a Disband, but what can they do with it? They're getting a couple more kills. It's equal on the payload at the moment as Barbie will lose his mech. But there's RCK with the double bomb onto Mouse and Barbie to equalize this a little bit more as Ripper takes down Limit as well. Kasaurus coming in clutch, gets the sound barrier in with an inch of his life, and Ripper is there with the Transcendence. Both support ultimates being used to bring out the clutch. Track not on the point because he's the Widow, and that's an 100% to 0 take for Team Gigantti.
That's your solo queue Widow right there, looking for the kills rather than going for the point contest. But you got to say, that was a really well played round by Gigantti. They were keeping Track under control for the whole thing. And one thing we didn't really touch on in our analysis earlier earlier on was looking at these two Tracer players coming through, Mouse and Davin. We spoke about Davin to a great extent last week, saying he's a very, very big Tracer player for this team. A lot of it was put together around him. Mouse last week didn't really show too much flexibility. It was pretty much Tracer exclusively, like Shaxx in the last game earlier on today. But Davin, as of yet, is looking to be the much stronger player.
Here's what I like about them both, though. They both have that Tracer as their main hero, but they can both flex onto the Zarya quite well. So that might be an option for future maps. Don't think it's going to come out just yet.
So here Gigantti are thinking their direct counter to this Pharah is going to be Nil coming through on the Soldier. They've also got Ripper on the Zen, so they also have that Discord, so they can keep him quiet at the very least. But you've got to think there's Tri-Spear and Track together in the sky. Seeing a Pharah on their own is a very rare sight nowadays, and that's where I'm having some concerns.
Well, Limit's already been forced out very low. Barbie's about to lose his mech. RCK goes in with the cleanup as Davin finally takes down that mech. Haven't been able to kill the interior of that D.Va mech just yet. But there we go, going to finish it off with Neil. Tri-Spear going to resurrect Limit. He's still trying to look for this position. Nil giving a little bit of aggro onto Tri-Spear, hasn't quite found Track just yet, but RCK and the rest of the tank lineup for Gigantti do the work, and they get that first cap yet again.
It's not often we can call out to tanks and say these guys were the real factor in this fight. Nil was very much so pressured and didn't get much time to bring out Track here, but still, even with the pressure from the Pharah, Cloudy and RCK were pushing forward, bringing mechs down, putting a lot of pressure on the supports, so it was very hard for Track to find the room or space to do his job.
You can see Track getting a little bit more time. They're all diving, trying to confine this fight into a close location. Really let the AoE from Track work. Attack visor from Nil. He looks straight up to the skies. No one to be found just yet. But Davin, he's getting killed. Nil finally finds Tri-Spear. He's on ground level. He's looking for someone. Mouse gets in his face. He can't dance around it just enough. But Davin comes in with a clutch, and Track decides it's all over for Disband.
We always speak about support duos being strong and they look out for each other. It's exactly the same with tanks and with DPS as well. In fact, the whole team realistically should be looking out for each other. That's when you get that true synergy that really sets teams apart. In this case there, Davin was there immediately to answer Mouse as he was trying to pressure down Nil. And Nil was basically, Davin, please come and save me. And in comes his hero, his Knight of Shining Armor, and will keep him alive. Gigantti so far looking very, very good. I'd even argue stronger than last week. What a big pick.
Double pulse bomb for Davin onto the support lineup. He's got the D-Mech as well as Ripper. He's finally letting himself know that Pharah counter. Gonna give a cheeky little wave to Barbie because they know they're just stalling it out even longer. 62% and counting for Team Gigantti. That's a Disband yet to get any percentage across both these two rounds.
Gigantti really are looking on fire this week, and if this is going to be the pretense for the whole series, they are in an excellent spot to take this series against That's a Disband. Super early to call, running map and 3/4 in, but from what we've seen so far, it's very promising.
It's impossible for Track to move around this map. As you saw there in the finite gap he created, the team knows exactly where he is. He needs to find a sneaky play for this barrage to come out, but he's not finding the window. Team Gigantti very aware of where he is at the moment. Davin guns down Limit with the help of RCK. Lucio needs to get onto that point, but there's the barrage from above. Finally, he finds Davin, but only one with the barrage. Little bit of a soft sell for me, quite frankly, but Barbecue, that's a Disband. Still keeping it up, 2-2 on the point. Nil with no health, needs some healing somewhere, but no one's focusing him.
Oh,
He's
so
able to go through until Track gets down to his level, takes him out, takes out Cloudy, and that's a Disband. Finally going to get some percentage on the board.
Once Davin disappeared there was no real cover for Nil, so he got dropped incredibly low and was forced to play very desperate, you might say, looking for the nearest health pad to try and keep himself alive. That gave Track a lot of room to come charging in and land. He didn't even have to hit him there as well. The splash damage off the rocket was more than enough to bring down a 12 HP Soldier. That's a Disband finally getting their first cap as things started to fall apart a little bit for Gigantti, but they're back and Davin has got that pulse bomb.
Opting to take the high ground at the moment. RCK, he's going to get some support immediately coming out from LH Cloudy, but Davin, he's won that Tracer duel time and time again against Mouse. Going to start picking some balls up in the air. Pulse bomb into the corner, doesn't find it. Track takes down Cloudy. RCK going to avenge his fallen tank brother. Massa with a pick onto Limit. But Davin, he's on the point by himself. He's got this nearly coming out with a full cap. He's getting some support from RCK. They just need to take out the mini D.Va. They should be able to reclaim this, force out the overtime, but here comes Limit. Last second, he had a Discord orb. What's he going to do? Mercy flying into the point as well, trying to get a stall out. Who are you going to heal? Who are you going to kill? You are not a battle medic. And now Track being shut out as the overtime whittles down. A very clean 2-0 for Team Gigantti.
This is kind of very reminiscent of the strat we keep seeing coming through on things like Hollywood, where you've got a soldier at the back and he's been protected in the front line by 2 of his tanks. Several times in that round specifically, Limit engaged pretty much solo without any kind of support from Barbecue. Whether that's a bit of miscommunication on their side or Limit panicking because he's being dropped by Davin, they were forced to make these plays that don't suit this team at all. Once that tank line's disappeared, There is nothing to protect Track. Down he goes, and they lose fights. And really, that was the whole story of that game for me. Really disappointing so far, but that's a Disband. Would like to see them pick it up on the next map.
But what quick reactions coming out from Gigantti. They were able to, you saw it as Limit flew into the point. Discord orb already on him. You had 2 players focusing him as he landed solo. So their target prioritization has been really impressive. We're going to take a quick break, let everyone refresh. We're going to bring you game 2 just in a second. Welcome back to Overwatch Contenders Europe. We're about to jump into map 2 between Team Gigantti and That's a Disband. And Gigantti, shock horror, 1-0 up at the moment. It's really on That's a Disband to try and upset them here and maybe get themselves a map out of this whole entire match.
We all kind of coined Track as being the big player to watch coming into this, that his Pharah plays could be really impactful, just the guy to watch. But so far, he's been incredibly quiet, I think purely alone on the basis that there has always been an answer to him or the front line that's trying to defend him. Really well played by Gigantti so far. And I've got to say, Davin, last week when we saw his Tracer, I wasn't like, wow, this guy is literally leagues ahead of everyone else. But today, he's definitely looking really sharp. The number of times he had one-off-one picks onto the opposition player of Mao's, insane. This guy is always there. He's always bringing these tanks down. The number of times, for example, the one key thing in the last round was Limit jumped in with like 98% ult charge. If he'd landed the stick on the jump, he would have got the ult off and they'd been able to contest the point. But Davin picked him off in midair before that could happen. They're not paying enough attention to Davin, I don't think, and he's able to run riot on the map, which is what's worrying me. Hollywood should give a bit more room. It's not control. It's less cyclical. You're more based around the payload, for example. They've got to make some big changes here, though, I think.
Let's see what they can do. We know, obviously, Gigantti impressed with their 900 IQ play, wrapping around the back of Cafe and really capitalizing on the stronghold that their opposing team managed to make for themselves in the previous week. Are they going to run that triple tank composition, force it out again, and see if they can repeat it? Or are they expecting that to Disband to do something different here and maybe bring a new strategy to the fold?
I have to do something. That's exactly what worked out in the last series for Singularity, was running that quad tank on Horizon Lunar Colony. That really changed around the dynamic of that series. Unfortunately, obviously, in the end, we know what the end result was. But at least that gives you some momentum, I think. And morale in Overwatch cannot be underrated. You look at a lot of other games, and morale, it's more of a slow-moving beast. But in this game, one bad play can completely set you on tilt. It leads you to start having some hesitation. You become quite indecisive, and that's when mistakes start happening. It literally takes a moment of forethought, or a moment of a memory lapse, you might say, and suddenly the whole thing turns against you. So here, that's a Disband. Sharpen things up a bit. Try something different if you have to keep things fresh. Otherwise, you're essentially running your head into a brick wall.
Well, on the defensive option, they're opting to go for that 2-2-2, but instead of having a soldier in their defensive lineup, they're going for Nil's Junkrat. And I want to wonder, are they going to repeat the exact same strategy, but swap out the soldier for the Junkrat, keep him in the cafe, give him all those support resources, and hopefully he can break down whatever that Disband throws at them, preferably for a Gigantti, some kind of tank lineup.
They're expecting the triple tank to come their way, I think, but in this case, it's likely not going to happen. It's just as good as the soldier in the back because you still get the damage boost. There's a lot of damage coming down. You've got even better disengage than the soldier purely on the basis that you have those mines to throw away and the trap you can put in front of you. It makes it very hard for the tanks to stick to you in the back line, so you have some room to not so much make errors, but you at least have space where you're not going to be in a great deal of threat.
Well, Ripper's the first one to draw blood on this map, takes out Mouse as he tries to get an angle onto this site. That's a Disband. They had a lot of momentum coming into this game. They slowed it right down for the moment. They're going to wait for Mouse to come back so they can move as a unit. They're forcing through security, which is very dangerous against the Junkrat. He's got the damage boost. He's getting the dive attention now. A lot of it's coming onto him, but he's still getting the healing. Davin, in the meantime, is sorting out the backline. Mouse found Ripper in the chaos, and they're still in there. Beautiful disengage. He shuts down Track with a concussion mine to the face as LH Cloudy also providing the reinforcements, but still, that's a Disband. Very much in control at the moment. They're the ones getting the progress. That strategy may not have been the best one for Gigantti.
Very interesting because Gigantti forced so many resources onto Nil in the house, for example, that I think when they were trying to deal with the dive coming in, it was a case of, well, we're not really putting our damage outward, which is where it needs to be. There is nothing to shut down the tanks on the way in. I think for the most part, Gigantti not so much panicked on that, but that's a Disband did play it out very well. They committed the right numbers to the dive, they managed to control the supports and the Junkrat, which meant the tanks elsewhere just fell down completely.
Now we're going to get a little bit of War of the Widows, as we typically see on Hollywood. Let's keep track of this one, and that's no pun intended. I want to see what's going to happen. Is it going to be a case of one-sided duel counts? But Ripper, he actually wants to have a duel of his own. He finds Tri-Spear by himself. It's going to force out Kasora's res at the moment, so big cooldown for that at the moment. If there's a pick from Nil now, that could be huge because they're going to have to wait for the respawn.
Well, worth mentioning, you don't always have to be the one worrying a nice sticky coming through onto Track. You don't always have to worry so much about Nil here. You've got to worry about Ripper as well, because those 5 taps do a considerable amount of damage, especially when it connects with the head. You've got to watch out for what that Zen's throwing at you, because Ripper so far, especially that opening first blood that we saw as well, more than capable of picking off these key kills when it counts.
Well, the fact that Davin can get onto Track with those pulse bombs and shut him down early on, bit of a worry for that Disband, because it's not going to be a one-on-one fight, as maybe they would like it. They think that Track can come in here and shut down Nil, but they're taking body shots at the moment. A lot of tank skirmishes happening on the point.
Oh.
Track finds Ripper with a headshot, grapple hooked up into the air with the sky hook shot down, and Massar going to resurrect that, erase the mistake, clear the board. Cloudy finds himself a nice mouse to munch on as Ripper gets another kill onto limit.
He keeps on looking for these like high up angles, but there you go. I told you, you don't have to worry about Nil. You've got to worry about Ripper and those orbs coming through. The damage they do as a collective can really hurt, whether it's on the head, whether it's damage boosted. Doesn't matter what it is, it's going to hurt when it connects.
I think Ripper has had a lot of, I think playing Zenyatta, he's really feeling the whole death of Mondata a little bit too much, and he's going to bring out a little bit of revenge, and his master died, he's getting revenge. It's a classic anime storyline here. He's finally surpassed the person who took out his sensei, and he hopefully keeps it up because he's been having a lot of shots onto Track and shutting him down more than we've seen Nil do. Davin with the pulse bomb onto limit, removing one of their tank options at the moment. Still having that long duel at the moment. Another resurrection coming out. Oh, nice pop onto Nil as he goes up into the air, looking for one of the supports. Misses the shot, unfortunately. Massar, yet again, going to reset it. This is so slow, it's perfect for Mercy to get these resurrections out.
And it's pretty perfect for Gigantti because they're happy to keep this stalling out as long as they can, but the kills are starting to roll through. Trap bringing down Cloudy. I've got to say the Winstons so far aren't having the best time on this map because every single time they're trying to go in for a fight, there is always someone to deal with them. Whether it's Ripper getting the pick off, whether it's Davin in the backline, whether it's Nil on the Widow, they always have answers to them.
Well, Barbecue picking himself up a tasty double there. Mouse going to need to get some healing before he progresses forward. The payload still in motion for that to disband. It's been very slow in terms of kills, but the progress has been steady for this team. And they're looking to get that final track. Track opens it up with Nil. Mouse with the pulse bomb onto Ripper. It's a 6v4. Make that 6v3, 6v2. Can they finish it off though? Is RCK going to dance around? The D-Mex come out, pop down the mini Diva, and secure yourselves that third stage.
Nicely played by That's a Disband once they've broken open that initial stall coming out of Gigantti, especially with the Widow coming through from Nil. It was definitely a big stall time for them. Once they push through, they've got to the space now where they're able to push in a bit deeper. Mouse is stepping up this game. He's getting himself into much smarter positions, not finding himself trading off against Daving. And his last time round, that's what was punishing him. Going in for those head-to-head fights was not going in his favor. Now that he's focusing on people like Ripper, like trying to bring down LH Cloudy, for example, it's all working out a lot better for his team.
Davin did a little bit of information gathering there and spotted they're all clustered around this high ground at the moment. They don't want to take that avenue, getting a lot of attention themselves from Nil to try and shut it down. And now they're onto Ripper. He's isolated. The second support coming in to help him out. Transcenders being blown maybe a little bit too early as Nil cuts down Mouse. Now they're moving on to the payload and forcing the rest of That's a Disband out. Nice pick from Track. Davin answers it back himself. But they've set That's a Disband back very far, and going to keep control of stage 3 for themselves.
That's the first real pushback we've seen come from Gigantti, just pushing forward aggression, trying to bring down the crucial members of the team. And they've got to keep on doing this, I think. The longer you leave this out, the more this car gets, or the payload gets closer to the end zone, the more of a risk it's going to be to try and make big ballsy plays like that. However, That's a Disband. Got Limit Sort online here, then go for a big disruption play.
Well, Limit's going straight onto the back lane. He's got the support of Track to help cut down Zenyatta. But the rest of the team, the exact same things happen to their own backlines. So now they're going to have to meet in the middle, have a skirmish, and solve it like men. Going head to head as Limit going to punch around Diva into that little room. Mouse finds Master, Davin with the teammate. Nice little Goomba stomp onto Davin as RCK takes out Diva as well. Mouse still working this payload closer to victory, though.
This is where I was worried about that aggression coming through. We said if they push too far here with the payload pushing up, they're going to now have literally one final defense that they've got to try and wait for everyone to come onto together. This is the last chance for Saloon for Gigantti, but they have a lot of ultimates online and 2 minutes to fight against.
Now they're going to fight over the choke point. The payload is so close to victory for That's a Disband. Neil dashes into the wall. Transcendence coming in just to get him into the fight at the moment. Huge retreat coming out from That's a Disband. You've got Alex Cloudy in the face of Mouse. Will get cut down. Neil takes out Track himself. And now they're going back on the counter-attack. Instantly taken out by Ripper. The Genji is shut down by that self-destruct. That's huge for Barbie as the rest of his team looking to get some kind of semblance of another attack out onto this field.
Good pushbacks once again, Gigantti. This is what we kind of quoted them for a lot earlier on in our analysis. We were saying they're very, very good at this resource management. They know how many ultimates they need to commit to a fight to win. In that case, they had the Blade, and they had Ripper's ultimate coming out as well, the Transcendence. Otherwise, they've held on to everything. Let's see if this works, though.
With no Transcendence, a Dragon Blade is prime for Track as he takes out Massa, takes to the skies, going to have to disengage because of the bomb. RCK, what is it with Divas taking down Genjis this map? As LX Cloudy, Ripper, they use that momentum, turn the tide of battle as LX Cloudy gets the stomp onto Mouse. Barbie answers onto RCK, but the rest of Gigantti still pushing back. That's a Disband, even though it inches closer to their defeat.
Had to use a lot of ultimates for that defense, and looking on the other side, you're looking realistically at maybe Mouse and Limit having their ults for this final push, but they've got to contest with the sound barrier. And you were saying just then about the Divas bringing down the Genjis. We're seeing it so often today so far that really you're looking to see who gets the first kill. Is it going to be RCK picking off Track, or on the other side is it Barbie bringing down Nil?
Remains to be seen. Davin just on the side at the moment. They've spotted him out now, so he's going to have to reconvene with his team. 20 seconds on the clock, but That's a Disband. Transcendence by Ripper. Also the sound barrier to answer in kind. Here comes Neil with his Dragon Blade of his own. No shutdown just yet, but no kills. He's going to have to cut through. Finds Mini Diva. Gets Tri-Spear as well. 2 may be good enough, but That's a Gigantti as RCK guns down the monkey who's in the air as LH Cloudy helps take out the back line. It's just Mouse alive at the moment. Pulse ball onto Massa. It's a consolation prize at this point. Overtime's going to kick down. That's a Disband. So close to getting the cap. Beautiful body block by RCK to seal the deal.
Good stuff by Gigantti. Second point, a little bit shaky. That's a Disband showing good signs of life there, especially on that final push when everything seemed to work like clockwork. Whether it's the pulse one going down to the Zen, the additional pickoffs that followed through from Track, for example, that was a good time for them. Sadly, third point was not a good time. Things looked a lot rougher for them then, still kind of struggling to find their feet, as apparently someone tries to find their internet connection again.
Well, you can always lose those at the most abrupt times, thankfully. I believe it happened after the match was completed, so no real loss there from the competitive edge. But Team Gigantti pushed a little bit to their limits there, nearly getting the full capture on the side of That's the Disband. Let's see what they can do with their offense, though. I want to see if they run that same strategy they did last week. But they
sweep around behind Cafe, right?
Yeah, the sweep around behind Cafe, but they've mixed it up. We also saw them using the Junkrat instead of the Soldier. I'm going to take a few highlights from the match so far. These are a couple of the shots coming out from Track on his Widow. We can make a little bit of a montage. A beautiful shutdown onto Nil. Genjis have been having a super sad day today after they popped that Dragon Blade.
Yeah, the thing is, though, a lot of the teams you look at and you go, great, they've got a really good Widowmaker, or awesome, their Genji is popping off and winning them a lot of fights. The big thing I always see that differentiates a lot of teams is who and how often are the carries starting to be consistent. For a lot of the times, you'll have one guy who pops off, the other one maybe not so much. You need two assets to your, or two facets to your attack here. Tracker may be great. Mouse has warmed up a little bit on this map, but it's still not really to the level that we're seeing from Davin. He's got to step up and start matching or even surpassing Davin in some situations if they've got any hope of being able to, one, hold out here, and two, take the series beyond just a 2-0.
Well, they've got to move it beyond that. Like I said, we're going into the half-time at the moment. That's a Disband really on the knife's edge. They have to put out solid defense here to allow Team Gigantti to be shut down moving in, because you can go into halftime at 1 apiece rather than that 2-0 deficit. Really does wonders for your mentality into the latter stages of the match.
Yeah, morale, we already said a few times today, it's a big deal if teams haven't got that motivation behind them and thinking we can actually do this. Self-belief is a big thing alongside that morale. Got to have it on side or else this could go very sour very quick. We spoke a bit about the tanks earlier on. They've tightened it up a little bit in this second map on Hollywood. It's not looking as bad as it was on the first map, for example. I think that's why they had so many successful fights, is in fact, what Limit was waiting for was for the opening pick from both Mouse or Track and just going, right, they've brought down one of the key targets. We now have the pressure advantage. Now we go in and we win the fight rather than just jumping in and hoping for the best.
We had a bit of a war of the divas as well. We look at the other tanks, and it's Barbie going up against RCK. And especially in the first game, you felt that Barbie had a little bit of a double load of work with Limit's kind of underwhelming performance on map 1. Thankfully, like you said, Limit stepped it back up now. But if you're looking at against Barbie versus RCK, I'd say it's still pretty evenly matched in terms of the work they're doing. So it's not going to be the one-sided diva matchup that we thought we may have seen from Gigantti coming into this series.
Yeah, it's always a hard when you're looking at diva players because a lot of it is going to base on where they choose to play. For example, on a lot of maps, you'll see a 3-3 dive kind of counter setup come. You'll have your supports, maybe a soldier, or in this case, earlier on a Junkrat set at the back. You have your tanks at the front. The real dilemma for a diva is, do we go in with those jump jets or do we come back to try and protect our supports at the back line? Once you've kind of made that decision, it is what it is. You've got to sit there and either protect that back line or you're going in to try and secure a kill. You can get punished for going in for the kill because we will just get melted down. You are basically a giant orb of ult charge at that point for someone like a Tracer. And in a match where there's two real big Tracers, it makes it really hard for you to get too much maneuverability around. You could say the same for Winston, because for Limit, he was basically an ult farm for Davin in the last map. This time around a bit better, like I say, he's cleaned things up. The real contest in this point has been definitely coming down to the Widowmakers, I think. They've been the ones who have been looking at and going, the pressure these guys are making on the map is changing the way these teams play.
Well, now that we've got everyone back into the field, we're going to find out how Team Gigantti's offense will go. LH Cloudy, I'm expecting him to play a Reinhardt on this one, lead the charge, be that point man for the engages. As long as he gets the support behind him, Team Gigantti should be able to roll through with this one.
It depends how they want to play it. Like you say, if they go for the Rhine, they want to go for that charge around the back of Cafe, up the stairs again and bring down the Mercy. That is always the first priority, is getting rid of that res when you're trying to push into Cafe. Otherwise, you go for the Winston and you basically bust in through the front door and just go, hey, we're here to party. Last time round, it worked out, but that's a Disband. Why would Gigantti not try and go for the same thing?
An interesting mix-up from that to Disband at the moment. They're not going to opt for that Cafe Holt strat. Instead, they're going to stick Track back on that fire. We know how powerful he can be on that machine of an aerial woman. So, with Tri-Spear being thrown up into the air as his support, they're not going to be playing around Cafe as much. So I wonder, what kind of territory are those tanks going to occupy now they don't have to be a front line for a quite weak back line?
Big question as well is, of course, the mind games that go into this initial setup phase for any map that you play on. Are they going Tri-Tank? Are they going for something like this with Track on the Farah, for example? You know it's one of his stronger picks. Still on the Soldier. It was pretty good last week as well. Farah by far and away one of his stronger picks, no doubt. So maybe they're anticipating that and they're going to react in kind. They're going for the double tank and they've got that dive coming through at the very least from the Tracer and the Genji.
The dive can only be so effective when one of the supports is in the air on that fire. They've got no real answer to shut them down other than RCK. Now they've recognized it. If this goes south, they might retreat back in, but they're going to amp it up straight into the action. LH Cloudy, there's the point man we were talking about. Rams him into the wall, but Limit starts to turn it around. And Davin, he's cut off Mouse from the rest of the team, while the rest of them are skirmishing in the Cafe. The heals are coming out. Track finds the pick onto Ripper, onto Cloudy. That's a Disband. They're going to shut down this first offense.
Comes out kind of as you'd expect there, and they realised straight away, they were like, oh, there's a Pharah in the sky. Right, time to switch things up, and that's exactly what they're going to go for here. They need more mobility on this dive. Putting Neil on the soldier at least is going to create more pressure onto track. So hopefully now they can go for a more staged push, you might say. They want to take their time with it, get yourself some staging. We speak about it quite a lot, taking the high ground first so you can contest track a lot easier. Nil's going to have a hard time getting up there, so his job is solely to press onto track, make sure he's got to hide behind this archway where he won't have as much freedom as he did in that last attack.
Quick and smart adaptations coming out from Team Gigantti. They recognize the shortcomings, they immediately rectify. Both tanks go into the air for track. I don't believe they're taking him down just yet, but Barbie with the micro missile is going to take out Nil, so less pressure on track. Kasora is onto Davin, and it's Cloudy. He's found the support of track, but there's no DPS options to take him out of the sky just yet, so that's a disband. Should push him back yet again.
This is what we called that's a disband out for just a second ago on Ilios. We were saying once those two tanks going for the engage, you are leaving track completely exposed at the back. We saw the exact opposite there. RCK and Cloudy both jumped high to try and bring down track and Tri-Sphere. That meant Lil was completely exposed and got picked off.
Finally, RCK shows up onto track, shuts him down. Mercy's not there for the resurrection just yet because they're all skirmishing around this point. They want to keep Miles alive. The self-destructs get traded in the air. No one's going to fall down to it just yet. Cloudy finally takes down Tri-Sphere, so track's going to have to come back from the spawn room. Limit with that primal rage, about half health at the moment, been whittled down. Barbie again, the micro missiles onto Nil, shut him down. Sound barrier coming out from Team Gigantti. They want to commit with this push at the moment. They've got a lot of ults in the bag. That's a disband. They have been forced back successfully.
That was just a case, I think, of trying to force out what didn't work so well from last time. You've got Barbie trying to contest here, but it's more of a time-wasting situation, I think. Not really likely to see the full team make it back, so trying to do this is going to stagger them further. However, because of the animation on the gate of Hollywood, you don't have to worry too much about that. You can afford to go for these trades just to try and burn some more time down. Gigantti going to take it away. Big thing that changed that time round was Cloudy getting into the backline and bringing down track pretty much immediately. RCK blocking that ult. That was the big one. You can see exactly why they went for this kind of pickup last time. Nil got punished last time round. Here they managed to pick off track, so there was an even kind of distribution of kills going across to either side, and Gigantti walk away the victors.
Here are all the resources going into track. So he's got that long angle. It's going to be spotted out by Cloudy, so they know the Widow's holding the angle. Can't find the correct shots just yet for him as the rest of them peel around to the left. There's attack visor from Nil. He was maybe looking for the Pharah. He can point out track if he doesn't use that cover effectively. Thankfully, he knows what to do. But look at that. At least Cloudy, he's gone in to try and fish them out. He's beating like you do when you go for a shoot. As Nil takes down Mouse, Ripper onto Barbecue as well, so the progress keeps rolling. This payload yet to be uncontested by That's a Disband because they put so much into Track's lockdown.
They still got hold of the Transcendence here. Gigantti then go for the Force if they want to. RCK's got hits as well for the zone clear, and Davin is just getting towards that Pulse Bomb. Again, he'll be looking for the backline. He's looking at Tri-Spears, looking at Kasores. Bring down this backline, and That's a Disband, and they will crumble.
Talking about, oh, nice pick on Nil. I was about to say, maybe it's time to switch off the Widowmaker, but if you can pull out picks like that, you got no reason to change at all. Alex Cloudy takes out both supports from That's a Disband. Mouse sitting on that Pulse Bomb at the moment, needs some healing from somewhere. Nil, I believe he just popped his Dragon Blade, hasn't got anything going for him just yet. But oh, there's the gun down from Davin. Peekaboo, I'm going to take you out right now, Sunshine. And there's a resurrection coming out for Kasores on that Mercy. Going to keep Mouse back into the fight. They're still contesting over this last fraction of a meter to try and get that point going. And That's a Disband crumbling at the wayside as Team Gigantti force out the third point.
I mean, you had a good chat in the break about what happens when you get to near the end of a third-point push but don't quite make it. The big advantage that you get when you get the full cap is the security. You know there is at least guaranteed to be one more round where you can go for that final push and make things work again. Because That's a Disband incomplete, Gigantti haven't got too much more to work with here. They've got 3.5 minutes, and they've only got to get it at the top end of this ramp, and they find themselves the victors. However, right now, looks like the scrap's going on up high. Yeah, still fighting over this high ground again. It's a bit of a nice stick on the Kasores will take him out. No delivery though to his allies. He goes for the heal, but the kills are coming out. It's all Team Gigantti at the moment, and Davin shuts down track on that newly acquired Genji. He got rid of Kasores, who had the ultimate available. He got rid of Track, who was on the Genji. Two big players that you were looking at, and two big impactful heroes given the current setup. Now they're finding themselves right near the exit zone. This is do or die for That's a Disband. Look how quick it's been for Team Gigantti, and they're going to keep it up. Valkyrie's been popped onto the back line. Nil immediately shuts down Tri-Spear. No answer coming out from That's a Disband as he dives back onto the payload. Self-destruct. A little bit too late to shut him down as it has done in the past, but somehow you put another shrimp on the Barbie, and he takes out Nil. Here's the Transcendence, keeping everyone healthy. RCK with the disengaged self-destruct onto Limit. You can have Kasores rejoin the fight at the moment as Barbie's about to get demeched. Where's the pick to shut him down? It's going to be coming in the form of Winston.
And the rest of Tracer as Davin takes out the mech. He's going to take out Mouse. Mouse comes onto RCK. Nice dash through from Track. He popped that ultimate and got shut down by Cloudy yet again. It's still super feels bad, man, for these Genjis today as Cloudy jumps back onto the payload and he's about to prop that Primal Rage.
This is very, very forced to try and hold it out, but I understand why. Cloudy's target prioritization has been excellent so far. Always keeping an eye on Kasaurus because, again, he appreciates what that res can do. And Kasaurus, actually, is going to switch off to Lucio on the final point.
Gives himself that extra mobility, keeps the team moving around the payload. And it's Cloudy finds Tri-Spear. Again, he supports the That's a Disband. Keep being left out to dry. And it's what's giving Gigantti all these advantages. But no one's on the point. They were forced into their corner. Team Gigantti go into the halftime 2-0.
Great play by the boys. Got to say, Cloudy as well. He was kind of one of the big players, definitely showing us exactly why. They've almost added a new element to their play from last week. It's not they looked bad last week, but this week looking extra sharp. Really liking what I'm seeing from these guys, and I hope it continues.
I really like what we're seeing from Cloudy. We talked about how he basically plays a dive tank when he plays Reinhardt. What happens when you put him on a dive tank? Well, he just goes ham, shuts down everyone, and finds all those picks onto the supports. You've got to feel bad for Tri-Spear when you get the amount of times he's getting shut down by either a tank or a diving DPS. It's going to be a bit of a team com breaker for him.
A bit. The big one for me there was Kasaurus. Like, literally what Cloudy's done is got a little notebook, opened it up, and there's a title, List of People to Kill Today. Kasaurus, 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 Kasaurus. Because every single time that guy walked out of the spawn gate, he was on top of him, making sure, one, he couldn't heal anyone, and two, that he was going back to that spawn room really quick. So really good target prior by him, making sure he didn't die as well, so wasn't going in too deep without his team. The whole team just came together really well this week, and I'm liking what we're seeing at halftime.
Definitely, and the one I've really been liking, Davin. He's finally being a star player. We saw him be serviceable last week, but now he's coming into his own. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, our analysts are going to break down the halftime.